Hi, my name is Jimmy Williams with NFL Draft Diamonds. And here with me today, I have another diamond in the rough for you. His name is Jake Witt. He's an offensive tackle out of Northern Michigan. Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, Jimmy. It's gonna be a lot of fun chatting.
Yeah, so uh your stock has actually risen tremendously lately, with you really going out there. You were at Central Michigan Pro Day, blew it out of the water. And so because of that, obviously your name has completely gone crazy in draft circles as maybe one of these guys who might hear his name called during the draft. So um Jake, before we get rolling about you and your story, give us your original background. Tell me where you're from, and then we'll start walking through the rest of this.
Yeah. So I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan here. Grew up in a small little, we were the smallest possible school division. We played eight-man football, but I was a guy growing up. I played basketball third grade all the way through, my first year of college. Did track and field as well. So I had a sport for every time of the school year, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, we were from a tiny school over in the Western Upper Peninsula. Big outdoorsman myself. That's what we kind of had to do. There wasn't much else that you had to enjoy. You had to embrace it. So we did a lot of outdoorsman type of stuff. But yeah, my journey led me, to Michigan Tech my first year. Played basketball there that entire year. Opted to transfer to Northern, starting in 2019. I was a student for one semester before I joined the football team, and then yeah, here we are a couple of years later.
Interesting. So yeah, from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. For people that are from that area, you call it the UP.
Yeah, yeah,
And so at least some of the notes that I had on you, I mean, like you said, I mean, bro, you were a basketball player for the longest time. And in my notes, it actually says that you were named UP Mr. Basketball, which is kind of sweet. Averaging 27 points per game and 18 rebounds at one point. Awesome, man. A lot of great talented basketball players do eventually make their way into the NFL, but not all of them as offensive linemen. You were a tight end first, right?
I was. Yep. Yeah. So I joined the team that would have been the spring of 2020. Unfortunately, right when COVID hit, but it was also kind of a good thing for me. I had played eight-man football only 2 years in high school. And the physicality, the speed of the game, everything was so much different coming from that level to college. So the nice thing about the COVID pandemic athletically for me was it allowed that full year just of a transformation, like transition year. I was able to train, I was able to learn the blocking game because in high school I played wide receiver actually. So I didn't do any bit of blocking. So it was kind of like I was learning how to block, kind of getting used to the speed of the game at the college level before playing that 21 season at tight end.
Wow, a wide receiver. That just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Um, so you also had mentioned that you did some track and field, and per my notes, so you were able to throw a discus of 162 feet, which is kind of cool. It's a decent number. So I had to acknowledge you on, in that regard. But an athlete, nevertheless. I mean, playing all these different sports growing up. Um, what made you decide to pursue football rather than anything else? I mean, why do you love this game so much?
you know, Having only played 2 years, I wasn't able to really dive into it too much. So, when I originally played basketball out of high school, it's just because, I'd just gotten off a great basketball senior season, and I'd played it for at this time 10, 11 years. So it was the most natural sport for me. I thought that was the best opportunity for me, both financially and academically going into college. So that kind of, drew me in that direction. Turned out, I didn't want to study what I was studying there at Michigan Tech. It was a great engineering school, wanted to study something more health sciences related. Coming from a small school and going to a college, I was never really showing all of these, the strength and conditioning, the high level athletics, all that kind of stuff. And that really kind of what started the ball rolling for me. So I ended up getting that degree in applied exercise science and health. becoming a certified personal trainer, all that stuff. I graduated in 21, so I've had a full almost year and a half like of just post baccalaureate work since that. But yeah, I mean, I was just a student for that 2019 fall semester at Northern actually. And Northern had recruited me out of high school for both sports. But when I got back on campus, the football coaches reconnected with me, said, "Hey, come out, check out some practices." So I went out, watched a few that fall. But at that time, I was like, "Oh, this is nice being a regular student." I had never been a regular person my whole life. Like I was always an athlete, you know what I mean? So that was nice. And then I realized after that semester, I was watching the football games at Northern, and I loved the sport of football in high school. It was even only playing 2 years, two of my final three options that were going to be football. So I went with the one that opted me to go basketball. But I loved the game of football, and I was getting that itch more and more to come out. So I ended up training at a local sports performance gym, which is actually the gym that I trained for my pro day prep here up in Marquette. Started training with them. He offered me a spot in their pro day group in the 2020 year. Said, "Hey, we want to use you as a test subject. Come on, how see what we can do with you." We knew each other. We're both from the UP, so went out, I trained with their 2020 pro day group, and that's really what I was seeing these high level athletes, and that's just what pushed it over the edge for me. I got back on into football. I needed something to kick me over, give me a kick in the butt again, and be like, "Hey, what are you doing?" But yeah, we joined. I mean, that fire came back, that competitive fire, just from watching football a ton again and getting back with the high level athletes.
Cool. I want to go over some of these numbers, and I know some people have perhaps different numbers because I mean the way pro days work is you have all these scouts that do their own thing, but these are some of the things that came out for you, and so if they're different, we'll correct them for everybody. But measuring in at 6'7", 302 pounds, uh, decent arm length, 33 and a half inches. Hands 10 and an eighth. You got a decent wingspan at 80 and 5/8. You were able to run a sub 4.9, which is great. I have listed 4.89, but maybe others have even better. 22 bench, 37 vertical, which is amazing for an offensive lineman. Let's just be real. In a 10-3 broad jump. Again, these numbers, man, these are tight end numbers. They're not offensive lineman numbers. So for a guy who's 302 pounds, this is some pretty legit stuff, man. How do you get there?
Yeah, it was just I always been a guy that has thankfully been able to put on lean weight and maintain my explosiveness. So, Dustin Bradshaw, the guy who kind of got me rolling again, he's the guy that's been my trainer for 3 years now over at Advantage Sports. He's the mastermind behind everything that I've done athletically. He's put me in these positions to be successful. He's guided me, he's trained me, he's brought up some weak points. He's the man. He's got me here. He's got me to the pro day, and without him, I don't know if I would have put up those numbers that I was able to put up. But it's just it was a ton of just grinding different variations of jumps, sprints. We're working the bench, we're working the reps. I mean everything. Plus on top of that, I finished last season around 280 pounds, so I put on 20 pounds since last season, and that added a lot of strength for me too. And I was able to maintain my jumps and speed with it, which was very nice.
I mean, Jake, you really opened up a lot of eyes. I mean, you probably got put on a lot of people's draft boards like the minute after you were able to, complete everything there at that pro day. Um, but I think a lot of people would say, hey, this guy is a raw athlete. And I don't know how you would take that, I guess, assessment. So I'll just ask you straight up. Um, what do you feel about like that assessment when someone says that he's a raw athlete?
I take it, in a good way, which I know I athletically tested very well, and I know I only played a year at this position too, so like that is a correct assessment in my mind. But in the same way, I think my ceiling is very high with this position, only played a year, so I barely scratched the surface of what I could do with some, high level coaching and whatnot, and some more just transition period. It's only been a year, so it's I have a lot to learn with the position, but yeah, my ceiling's high. Another nice thing with it is not too many bad habits. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing a year ago playing this position. So for me to be in this where I am right now, a year later, is super thankful for it. I've had some great people in my corner that have helped me along this transformation. But yeah, I think I've only scratched the surface, of what I could be at this position.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there are a lot of coaches that are really just, I don't know, very eager to see what they can do with you. I mean, if I was able to take you maybe and I don't know, over the course of a year or so, mold you into the player that I want you to be. I mean, that could be very intriguing to a lot of coaches. So yeah, we'll see what happens for you. So um, let's talk about your transition from place to place. So like, you're going to a school there in the UP, end up going to what's it for Michigan Tech. You're at Michigan Tech playing basketball, and then eventually there at Northern Michigan. Um, which you only played football at Northern Michigan, right?
Yep, I only played football here. Yep.
So in during your time, I mean, obviously, you obtained at least one degree. You said that you were now a certified personal trainer, right?
Yep, yep.
Cool, cool. Also have in my notes that you were actually a high school valedictorian. What's up with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I always took pride, in my academics. My mom was a school teacher as well, so it was a lot of like she was making sure I was, getting my work done, which is I'm super thankful for her with that. But yeah, I always took pride in my academics. At the end of the day, that's what's a lot of times going to carry you to where you want. And yeah, that was always something that was my main focus all the way through high school and whatnot. And yeah, I was a studious guy, I guess. I mean, we had a small school too. We had our high school only had 55 people for all four grades, so we were a tiny little school, but awesome place up nonetheless.
So tiny school, but you still got that, on your, I guess, list of things that you've accomplished in your career. Even if it was amongst a very small number of people, it's still legitimate, right? So nice to be able to take that. And so you were a part of the football team there for Northern Michigan. Also named team captain on several different occasions. So I mean, I gotta ask the whole leadership thing, man. I mean, do you see yourself as a leader?
Yeah, I think my leadership kind of capabilities, my leadership persona, I'm a lead by example kind of guy. I'm not as vocal as some leaders. I'm not going to be the big rah rah type of leader too often, but I'm a big lead by example kind of guy. I'm going to get the guys out early to practice. I'm going to get the offensive linemen out there early, just getting our warm up in, getting our individual drills in, running through our schemes. And we'll be the last guys out doing a stress session or something like that. So I'm a big lead by example kind of guy. And when vocal leadership is needed, I'll take that stance as well. But I would say, yeah, leadership wise, I'm a big example kind of guy. Not as much a vocal one, but when we need it, I'm there for it.
Gotcha. Talk about that offense that you guys run there at Northern Michigan. I mean, obviously small school, not a lot of people maybe have even ever seen you. But talk about that offense there overall that you were a part of.
Yeah, we had probably one of the best running backs in Division II in my mind. See, he led a great. We were up front and he was running behind us for a lot of the season. We had a great quarterback as well, some awesome receivers. So we had a but well balanced attack. We were more, I would probably say, a 60 to 70% run team versus pass. But we ran the powers, the draws, inside outside zone, and we ran, I mean, various different protections, whether it's slide, whether it's man, or whether it's combo. So we did a lot as an offense. We kind of ran almost similar to what Iowa would do in their offense. If you watch Iowa, we're very similar to them. So yeah, we threw it all in there. We did a lot of different stuff, a lot of different formations. But it was a great learning thing for me. Going to this next level, I'm going to need to know a lot. And just for me to have that learning year with an offense like that was great.
So I assume they had you you play mostly left tackle?
Yes, yep, started at left this past year.
Gotcha. So is that mainly your experience there? Is obviously tight end and left tackle. I mean, have you played anywhere else in between?
Yeah, so actually, when I switched from tight end to tackle, it was in the 2021 season, midway through a game, week 9. We had injuries on the offensive line. So halftime, my coach walks up to me with a number 65 jersey. I'm like, oh, I know what's coming here. So I'd never practiced tackle at that point. I was a tight end, and so I played the last 3 games actually at right tackle. So I had a little bit of right tackle experience. Obviously, I was just making it up as I went. I was the only option we had due to injuries at that point. So there wasn't much as far as technique or skill, but then when I made that full transition, I played left tackle, also practiced right. I started 1 game at right this past season. So I started 10 games at left, 1 game at right, and it was just a mostly left because we had a lot of great edge rushers in this conference, and we needed that backside protected from that QB. But it was a fun role to have for sure.
So what do you feel has been like the toughest thing for you as a guy transitioning to your role now, that being an offensive lineman? What do you think is like, I don't know, the biggest thing that you have had to learn over your time?
The biggest thing for me, transitioning tight end or from basketball to tight end to O line, I kind of got a bit of a taste of it when I was a tight end, but when I switched to O line, I didn't realize how in depth it was. How the combinations worked, the front IDs, everything relating to that. The protections, who we were sifting or sorting off to. So it was really in depth, very in depth, and that was just the biggest transition for me. The biggest learning curve was all the mental stuff that I needed to know. I didn't even touch the offensive line in high school. Plus, we didn't even have tackles in 8-man football. And then I played tight end, so I got a bit of a taste of it, like I said. But when I really dove into offensive line play, I realized how much mental was the learning part of the game with that.
Yeah, I mean, completely different mindset, really, when you're transitioning from being one of the playmakers to one of the guys who is this gritty, nasty guy in the trenches, who has to make those combo blocks, who needs to be able to hold his ground and give his guys like either some protection or push that pocket, for your running back. And so you got to make those holes for him, right? Um, I know you had a brief time at offensive line, but I mean, I also want to allow you to kind of share maybe your best moment at that position. When you look back at like the past season or so, um, give me like one of your biggest highlights.
Yeah, I think it was our homecoming game actually. There's a play that sticks out for me. A receiver caught the ball probably 25 yards down the field, and I always like to run to the ball. You never know if there's going to be a fumble or whatever. You never know what can happen. So I'm running down the field, probably 30 yards down, and the receiver should have been tackled 4 times. He's juking him out, and so he cuts back. And at this point, we're probably 50 yards down the field, and he's a receiver cuts to my side. I make the final block for like the 70-yard touchdown. And we're like 60 yards down the field. That was a play that I thought it kind of stuck out. It was pretty funny thinking back to it, but it paid off. I always run to the ball, and it kind of put me in that position just to be there to have that opportunity to make that spring block that you don't see too many offensive linemen make. 50 yards down the field, but
Well, it's definitely a fun moment to be able to run down there and put somebody on their back, and that sort of thing, and spring the guy, loose, and so he can make a great play. So, um, obviously, it's been a while since you've scored a touchdown yourself, because I mean now you're making that transition to the line. How do you feel about that, man? I mean, as an offensive lineman who's maybe not going to be scoring any touchdowns anytime soon.
that doesn't bother me too much. It's just for me, I get just as much joy when we are able to create an opportunity for somebody else. Because when an offensive line, pops a hole open, running back breaks for a 40-yard touchdown. I feel just as much joy as if I were to score that because we up front take a lot of pride, in kind of creating these opportunities. And it's awesome to see when we're able to help somebody else, score that touchdown. And we're able to celebrate as a team for that, because at the end of the day, we're all going to be, if we put up 40 points, we all put up 40 points. So it's a lot of fun, whether we hold the pocket for 6-7 seconds and the quarterback throws a bomb for a touchdown, whether we break something open in inside zone and running back takes it for 40 yards to the house. It doesn't bother me if I'm not scoring the touchdowns. As long as we're scoring them, that's all that I care about. But it's fun. I mean, it's celebrating with your teammates, with the guys up front too is a blast.
Cool. I had to check that with you because I know sometimes people they always get that itch, to be able to score those points again. And who knows, man? I mean, maybe what's going to happen is you're going to get that moment. I mean, you're going to have like this jumbo package like at the goal line, and they're going to have in their head, this guy was a tight end, and so they might be sneaking you out on this jumbo package at the goal line, and give you that one touchdown. So we'll see what happens as you transition forward, man. That would be an awesome thing for you.
Yeah,
Um,
that wouldn't be too bad.
yeah, why not? Jake, let's take a moment and step off the football field and talk about you as the person. I mean, when you is there anything else about you that you want to share, whether it be your hobbies, interests, passions, anything you got going on in your life? I mean, what is it you feel people need to know about Jake Witt?
Yeah, I mean, hobby wise, growing up in the Upper Peninsula, we kind of touched on it earlier. Big outdoorsman, I was a big fisherman, love kayaking. I had a fishing kayak I would take out to all the little lakes near my place in the summertime. Also, a big hobby that really nobody knows about me is since I was early in high school, I used to build computers and sell them to people, and that was always something I really enjoyed. They would come to me saying, "Hey, I would like a computer for this various thing." You know what I mean? Whether it was they wanted to play video games on it, whether they wanted it for photo or video editing. So I'd order the hardware for them, build it for them, and then it would be probably $150 cheaper than if they were to buy it just off the market as a pre-built PC. So that was a big hobby of mine, and still is. I have my big built computer here in my room up in Marquette. So it's always been something that I'd like to do that not a lot of people know about me.
Crazy. Maybe I'll send you my broken down laptop, see if you could fix that darn thing because it's a piece of junk.
Oh
This
yeah.
this one right here is okay. And so it makes do, but neat thing to know about you. Let me see if I can get one more non-football, at least maybe one or two more non-football related things. You big movie guy?
Yeah, I'm a big movie guy. I was a big superhero movie guy. Growing up, I was every Marvel movie that came out, we'd go to the theater, watch it with all my friends. DC, big Batman, Superman guy. So yeah, I'm a huge movie guy. I mean, especially superhero movies. That's probably, if I had a genre that I would say, okay, if I could watch all movies in this genre, it would be superhero type of movies. That's just been what I love since I was even just a little kid. So
Yeah, I mean we like to watch those as well, like almost all of them that come out. Although I kind of prefer the Marvel movies, let's be real.
yeah,
Um, but for you personally, man, I mean, which one of these superheroes do you feel like you might identify with the most or want to be?
I always want to be a Superman type of guy. I mean, that's what a lot of people say. So it's probably a pretty standard answer that a lot of people say, but Superman and Captain America were my two favorite guys growing up. So on DC side, I had Superman, Marvel, I had Captain America, and
Sure.
those are my two favorites. And I mean, still are. I have a superhero poster on the wall here in my room, actually, a Superman poster. So I've always been a Superman fan. Even when I was a little kid, there are videos of me watching the 1946 Superman cartoons when I was probably 5 years old on the TV. So
Mm. Well, that's about as American as you can get, I think, is those two things. So um Jake, it's been it's been fun really getting to know you and your journey. I mean, again, I know a lot of people are very curious about you as a player, and we'll see what happens for you, man. I mean, you have a lot going on. Bro, you are an NFL prospect, for real. I don't know if you've been able to really wrap your mind around that yet, but how would you I don't know, what's going on in your brain these days, man? I mean, where's your head at?
It's exciting. I mean, for me, still, it's I started playing it a year ago, and to be in this position right now, if I step back and think about it, it's still surreal. It's awesome. So thankful for the team around me that helped me get to where I am. Whether it's my trainer Dustin Branshaw, my agent David, he helped me out tremendously. My family, my friends, my coaches at Northern, Coach Chimera, who helped me make that transition from tight end to tackle. Coach Nystrom, the head coach, Coach Jerson, who's also an Upper Peninsula native. He's been the guy that he was at every single lift in the summertime. He was there motivating us, all that stuff. So those are just a few of the people that I'm super thankful for that helped me get to this exciting time in my life. But yeah, it's keeping my head on straight. Obviously, it's super exciting, but I know the work's not done. It's just started. I mean, make it into the NFL, and then that's when the work starts. Yeah, you have to maintain a roster spot. You have to continue to maintain your physicality and continue getting stronger, faster, bigger. So it's going to be a fun process, and I'm super excited for it.
Well, Jake, I feel like there's a lot, going for you as a prospect. We talked a lot about it. I mean, obviously, your name is a buzz amongst the draft Twitter. And so I feel like there's going to be an opportunity for you here very soon. So I do wish you all the best. All right.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a blast.
Awesome. Once again, we got Jake Witt. He's an offensive lineman at Northern Michigan. So check this guy out.